The car ride was quiet. Too quiet. 4-year-old Amara Pierce sat in the back seat, wrapped in her favorite purple coat, the one with the fuzzy hood. Her fingers traced patterns on the fogged window. Outside, trees rushed past, getting thicker, darker. "Daddy, where are we going?" Marcus kept his eyes on the road. His knuckles were white on the steering wheel. "Just for a drive, sweetheart. You'll see." "Is Mommy meeting us?" His jaw tightened. "Mommy's not coming." Amara didn't understand why, but something felt wrong. Daddy had been acting strange all week, ever since the last hospital visit, when the doctors had pulled him into a room with the door closed. Amara had pressed her ear to it, heard words she didn't understand. Terminal, transplant, millions, no guarantee. When Daddy came out, his face had been gray. Now the car turned onto a narrow road. No more houses, no more streetlights, just trees and snow and silence. "Daddy, I'm cold." "We're almost there." "Almost where?" He didn't answer. The car stopped in a small clearing. Marcus turned off the engine. The sudden silence was loud, suffocating. "Come on, baby, let's stretch our legs." He helped her out. The cold hit like a slap. Amara's breath came in small white clouds. Her heart did that fluttery thing it sometimes did, the thing that made the doctors frown and shake their heads. "Daddy, can we go back? It's too cold." "Just for a minute. Look how pretty it is." She looked. Trees everywhere, heavy with snow. No buildings, no people, no sounds except the wind. Marcus crouched down to her level. For a moment, his eyes were wet. He touched her face. "You know Daddy loves you, right? More than anything?" "I know." "And you know I'd do anything to keep you safe." She nodded, confused. He stood up. "Stay right here, okay? I need to get something from the car." "What are you getting?" "Just stay here." He walked back toward the car. Amara waited, shivering. Her chest hurt. The cold made it worse. "Daddy?" He opened the car door. "Daddy, hurry, I don't feel good." He got in. "Daddy?" The engine started. Understanding came slow, then all at once. That wasn't the sound of him getting something. That was the sound of him leaving. "Daddy, wait!" She ran toward the car, her small legs struggling through the snow. Her heart pounded wrong, painful, making spots dance in her vision. "Please, don't go." The car reversed, turned. She could see his face through the window. He was crying, but he wasn't stopping. "I'm sorry," he mouthed. Then he drove away. Amara stood there watching the car disappear, watching the only person she had in the world abandon her in the middle of nowhere. "Daddy," she whispered. The wind answered. She tried to follow the tire tracks, but her legs were too short, the snow too deep. Her breath came in gasps now. Her heart stuttered, skipped, raced. She made it maybe 50 yards before her knees gave out. The snow was soft when she fell, almost warm compared to the air. She curled into a ball, trying to stay small, trying to conserve heat like some animal instinct told her to. "Mommy," she called out. But Mommy had died 6 months ago. Brain aneurysm, sudden, gone before anyone could say goodbye. Now it was just Daddy, and Daddy had left her here. Her vision blurred, the trees spun. She felt herself getting sleepy, the dangerous kind of sleepy the doctors had warned about. If her heart races too much, if she gets too cold, if she overexerts herself. All three at once. Perfect storm. Her eyes closed. The last thing she remembered was the purple of her coat against the white of the snow. Then, nothing. Jacob Rivers hadn't planned to go out that morning. His wife had begged him not to. "The weather's too bad, stay home." But they needed the money. His seasonal work had ended, and they were 2 months behind on rent. He'd heard there were deer in the northern woods. One good kill could feed them for weeks, maybe sell some meat for cash. So he'd gone out at dawn, rifle on his back, hope in his chest. 3 hours later, he'd found nothing, was about to head back when he heard it. A sound, small, wrong. He went still, listening. There, again, like whimpering. Jacob followed the sound off the trail, through dense trees until he saw color where there shouldn't be any. Purple fabric against white snow. His heart dropped. He ran, stumbled, fell, got up, kept running, got closer and saw what he'd been praying he wouldn't. A child, a little black girl, maybe 4 or 5, lying motionless in the snow. Her lips were blue, her skin was ashen, frost clung to her eyelashes. No, no, no! Jacob dropped to his knees beside her, pressed his fingers to her neck. There, faint, thready, a pulse, barely. He scooped her up. She was so light, so cold, like holding ice. "Stay with me, baby, stay with me." He ran back toward his truck, crashing through the forests like a wounded animal. His lungs burned, his legs screamed. He didn't care. The truck came into view. He yanked the door open, laid her across the back seat, cranked the heat to max, grabbed every blanket and coat he had, piled them on her. Her eyes fluttered. A small sound escaped her throat. "That's it. You're okay. You're going to be okay." He drove faster than he'd ever driven, one hand on the wheel, one reaching back to keep checking her pulse. 20 minutes to the nearest hospital. 20 minutes of praying to a God he hadn't talked to in years. Please, please let her live. She's just a baby. The hospital appeared. Jacob carried her through the emergency entrance. "Help! Somebody help!" Nurses materialized, took her from his arms, disappeared behind swinging doors. Jacob stood there, covered in snow and fear and the weight of what he'd just seen. A little girl, alone, in the middle of nowhere, in weather that could kill an adult. Someone had left her there. Someone had wanted her to die. The nurse approached with a clipboard, kind eyes, tired face. "Sir, we need information. What's her name?" Jacob froze. He didn't know, hadn't thought that far. "Sir?" I found her in the woods. She was alone." The nurse's expression changed. "Alone? Did you see anyone else? Parents? A vehicle?" "No, nobody. Just her." The nurse wrote something down. "We'll need to contact Child Services, the police. This is a serious situation." Fear crawled up Jacob's spine. Police meant questions. Questions meant investigations. And something told him that whoever left that little girl didn't want her found. If she went into the system, if her picture got circulated, if the wrong person saw it. "What's your name, sir?" The question hung there. Jacob thought about his own daughter at home with his wife, thought about what it would feel like to lose her, thought about the girl lying in that hospital bed fighting for her life, thought about how sometimes doing the right thing meant doing the wrong thing first. "I'm her father," he said. The nurse blinked. "Her father?" We were hiking. I turned around for 1 second and she ran off. I've been searching for hours. I thought I lost her." The lie came easier than it should have. Smooth, practiced, like he'd been preparing for this moment his whole life. The nurse's face softened. "Oh my God, you must have been terrified." "I was. Is she going to be okay?" "The doctor's with her now. What's her name?" Another choice, another lie. He thought of his own daughter at home, Maya. Sweet, healthy, safe Maya. He said, "Amara." The girl's real name, if there was a name tag or anything on her, he'd need to match it. But then he added, "Amara Rivers." The nurse wrote it down. Jacob Rivers had just claimed a dying child as his own, had just erased her real identity, had just committed fraud, kidnapping, a dozen crimes he couldn't name. But he'd also just saved her life. for the second time that day. "Mr. Rivers, we need to talk about Amara's condition." The doctor was young, competent, concerned. She led Jacob to a small conference room, closed the door. "Your daughter has hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. It's a congenital heart condition where the heart muscle becomes abnormally thick. It makes it harder for the heart to pump blood." Jacob nodded, trying to keep his face neutral, trying to look like a father who already knew this. "Were you aware of her diagnosis?" "Yes, we've been managing it." The doctor's eyes narrowed slightly. "Managing it how? She's not on any medication." "We were between doctors, waiting for insurance to process." "I see." The doctor didn't sound convinced. "Mr. Rivers, this condition is serious. Without proper treatment, Amara is at high risk for sudden cardiac arrest. She needs to be on beta blockers immediately. She needs regular monitoring, and depending on how her heart responds, she may need surgical intervention." "How much?" "I'm sorry? How much does all of this cost?" The doctor hesitated. "With insurance, it's manageable. Without insurance, the medication alone is about $300 a month. Monitoring visits every 3 months, maybe $1,000 each time. Surgery, if needed, could run into 6 figures. Jacob felt the number crush his chest. He made maybe $20,000 a year on good years. His wife worked part-time at a grocery store. They had their own daughter to provide for. There was no way, no possible way. "I'll figure it out," he said. "Mr. Rivers, there are programs, assistance for families who—" "I said I'll figure it out." The doctor studied him. "Okay, but Amara can't go without medication. If you need help, I don't." Another lie. He needed help desperately, but accepting help meant questions. Questions meant investigations, and investigations meant the truth would come out. That this little girl wasn't his daughter, that he'd found her abandoned, that someone powerful had probably left her there. That if they found out she was alive, they might try again. No, better to struggle, better to sacrifice, better to protect her the only way he knew how, by keeping her invisible. Jacob's wife, Linda, was furious when he brought Amara home. "You did what?" "I couldn't let her go into the system, Linda. Whoever left her there. So you lied to a hospital, to the police? Do you understand what you've done? I saved her life. You destroyed ours." But Linda's anger melted when she saw Amara, small, fragile, eyes full of fear and confusion. The little girl didn't remember much. The trauma, the cold, the near death had fragmented her memories. She remembered her name was Amara. She remembered having a daddy, but his face was blurry now, lost in the gaps where memory should be. She thought Jacob was him, thought Linda was a new mommy, thought this cramped apartment with peeling wallpaper was home. Linda held her that first night, rocked her when she woke up screaming from nightmares, made her soup when she was too weak to eat solid food, sang to her when her heart did that scary rhythm that made her cry. "We can't keep her," Linda whispered to Jacob in the dark. "We can barely feed Maya." "I know." "The medication costs more than our rent." "I know." "If anyone finds out—" "They won't." But they both knew it was a lie. Jacob took extra shifts, worked construction during the day, security at night, came home exhausted, slept 4 hours, started again. The medication got paid for, barely. Food became creative. Pasta 5 nights a week, discount bread, dented cans from the back of the grocery store. Maya, their biological daughter, understood without being told. She was 7, old enough to see her parents stress, old enough to know the new girl who looked nothing like them needed medicine they couldn't afford. "Is Amara going to die?" she asked once. Linda's face crumbled. "No, baby, we're going to take care of her. Even if it means we don't have much?" "Even then." Maya nodded, and from that day forward, she never complained. When Amara got the last piece of chicken, Maya smiled. When Amara needed new clothes and Maya wore hand-me-downs, she didn't say a word. The girls became sisters, real sisters. Shared a room, shared secrets, protected each other at school when kids asked why they looked so different. Adopted, Maya would say with a shrug. So what? Amara's memories of her real father faded completely by the second year. She stopped having nightmares about the cold, stopped reaching for someone who wasn't there, stopped asking questions Jacob couldn't answer. She became Amara Rivers, daughter of Jacob and Linda, sister to Maya. And somewhere in Manhattan, Marcus Pierce held a memorial service for his daughter, accepted condolences, built a foundation in her name, and never looked back. By the time Amara was 10, the Rivers family had mastered the art of barely surviving. The apartment was too small, 2 bedrooms for 4 people. The girls shared one room, Jacob and Linda the other. The living room doubled as an office, a dining room, a place to fold laundry that was always piling up. The walls were thin. You could hear everything. Mrs. Chen upstairs fighting with her husband, the college kids next door playing music too loud, the pipes groaning when someone 3 floors down flushed a toilet. But it was home. Amara had learned to live with her condition, learned the warning signs when her heart was acting up, the flutter in her chest that meant slow down, the dizziness that meant sit down now, the chest pain that meant hospital immediately. They'd been to the ER 7 times in 6 years. Each visit cost thousands they didn't have. The debt collectors called constantly. Jacob stopped answering the phone. School was complicated for Amara. She was smart, brilliant even, perfect memory, could read something once and recite it word for word. Teachers loved that part. But she couldn't do gym, couldn't run laps or play sports or do anything that made her heart work too hard. Kids noticed. "Why don't you ever play with us?" "I can't." "Why not?" "I'm sick." Sick how? She didn't know how to explain that her heart was built wrong, that normal things could kill her, that she lived every day aware that her body was a ticking clock. So she said, "Just sick." They stopped inviting her. Maya tried to bridge that gap, invited Amara to hang out with her friends, but it was awkward. Amara was 3 years younger, obviously different, obviously struggling. "Your sister's weird," one of Maya's friends said once. Maya punched her, got suspended for 2 days, didn't regret it. At home, Amara heard things she wasn't supposed to hear, late-night conversations between Jacob and Linda. "We can't keep doing this. What choice do we have? Maybe there are programs, government assistance. We can't apply. It'll raise questions about who she is. Then we tell the truth. And she goes into foster care, gets lost in the system. Whoever left her to die finds out she's alive." Silence. "We keep going," Jacob said. "We make it work." They always made it work. Somehow. Jacob sold his truck, started taking the bus. Linda picked up weekend shifts. Maya babysat for neighbors, gave every penny to their parents. Amara tutored younger kids, charged $5 an hour, felt proud every time she handed over a crumpled 20. "You don't have to do this," Linda would say, tears in her eyes. "I know," Amara would answer, "but you're doing it for me." The guilt lived in her chest, right next to her broken heart. The knowledge that she was the reason they struggled, the reason Jacob's hair went gray at 40, the reason Linda's hands shook when she counted bills. One night, when she was 12, Amara found Jacob at the kitchen table. He was staring at a pile of medical bills, face in his hands. She sat down next to him. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. He looked up. "For what?" "For being expensive. Jacob's face did something complicated. He pulled her close, held her tight. "Don't you ever apologize for being alive. You hear me? Never. But if I wasn't here, if you weren't here, I wouldn't be either. Not the me that matters." She didn't understand then. Didn't understand that saving her had saved him too, had given his life meaning when it was just minimum wage jobs and survival. But she would understand, eventually, when she was old enough to realize that some people become family, not because of blood, but because of choice. And Jacob Rivers had chosen her every single day, even when it cost him everything. Amara was 14 when she saw him for the first time. She was at the public library, the one place in the city with free internet and heating that didn't cost her family money. She'd been researching colleges, dreaming about scholarships she'd probably never get, when a news article popped up. The headline meant nothing to her, but the photo did. The man in the picture had salt and pepper hair, expensive suit, practiced smile. He was shaking hands with a hospital administrator, both of them grinning for the camera. Amara's chest tightened, not from her heart condition, from recognition. She knew that face. No, that was impossible. She'd never seen this man before, but something deep in her brain screamed otherwise. She clicked the article. Marcus Pierce, CEO of Pierce Technologies, continues his philanthropic mission through the Amara Pierce Foundation, named after his late daughter. Amara stopped breathing. Her name. This stranger had named his foundation after someone named Amara, his daughter, who tragically died at age 4 in a hiking accident. Pierce has since dedicated his fortune to ensuring no child suffers from inadequate medical care. The room spun. Amara scrolled down, found more photos. Marcus at charity galas, Marcus speaking at conferences, Marcus accepting humanitarian awards. And in one archived photo from 10 years ago, Marcus holding a little black girl in his arms. She looked maybe 3. She was smiling, he was smiling. Amara zoomed in on the girl's face. It was like looking in a mirror. Her hands shook as she searched for more. Found an obituary. Amara Marie Pierce, beloved daughter of Marcus and Jennifer Pierce, died February 3rd. The date made her dizzy. February 3rd. She didn't know the exact day Jacob had found her, but it was early February. She knew that much. After a tragic accident in the Adirondack Mountains. She is survived by her father, Marcus Pierce. In lieu of flowers, donations can be made to the Amara Pierce Foundation. No mention of how she died, just accident. Amara's memories were fragmented, but pieces started connecting. The cold, the snow, the man walking away. "Daddy, don't leave me." That voice in her memory didn't belong to Jacob. It belonged to someone else. Someone who'd left her in the woods to die. She searched for more information about Marcus Pierce, found his company website, his foundation, his carefully curated public image. Found nothing about a wife. Jennifer Pierce, the obituary had mentioned, but there were no recent photos of her, no social media presence, nothing. Amara dug deeper, found a death notice from 10 years ago. Jennifer Pierce, 32, brain aneurysm. So Marcus had lost his wife, then 6 months later, lost his daughter. Except his daughter hadn't died. She'd been abandoned. Amara sat back, staring at the screen. Her heart was doing that wrong rhythm, the dangerous one, but she didn't care. That man, that billionaire philanthropist, that hero, he was her father, and he'd left her to freeze to death. Amara didn't tell anyone immediately. She went home in a daze, climbed into bed, stared at the ceiling. Maya found her hours later. "You okay? You missed dinner." "Not hungry." "Since when?" Maya sat on the edge of the bed. "What's wrong?" Amara wanted to tell her, wanted to say, "I found my real father. He's rich. He tried to kill me." But the words stuck in her throat. Just tired, she managed. Maya didn't believe her, but she didn't push, just squeezed Amara's hand and left. 3 days later, Amara finally broke. She found Jacob in the garage working on a neighbor's lawnmower for 20 bucks. She stood in the doorway until he noticed her. "Hey kiddo, what's up? I need to ask you something." Something in her voice made him put down his tools. "Okay, where did you really find me?" Jacob's face went pale. "What? 15 years ago, in the woods. Where exactly was I?" "Amara, was I alone?" His hands gripped the workbench. "Why are you asking this?" "Because I think I know who left me there." Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. Jacob closed his eyes. "How?" "I saw him in the news. Marcus Pierce. He had a daughter named Amara who died the same time you found me. It's not a coincidence." "No," Jacob said quietly. "It's not. Did you know?" "Not at first, but I figured it out eventually. Saw a news report about a missing girl, a billionaire's daughter. Search called off after 3 days. The timing matched. The description matched. Why didn't you tell anyone?" Jacob turned to face her. His eyes were red. "Because men like Marcus Pierce don't abandon their children by accident. They do it on purpose. And if he found out you survived, he might finish what he started." The words hit like a physical blow. "He tried to kill me," Amara whispered. "I think so." "Why?" "I don't know, but I wasn't going to risk your life to find out." Amara's vision blurred. Tears came hot and fast. "He's living this perfect life. He's rich, he's famous, he's helping children while his own daughter grew up poor and sick and—" Jacob pulled her into his arms, held her while she sobbed, while 15 years of confusion and pain and anger finally found their way out. "It's not fair," she gasped. "I know. He should pay for what he did." "Maybe. We should go to the police." Jacob pulled back, looked her in the eyes. "And tell them what? That I lied about your identity? That I fraudulently claimed you as my daughter? That I've been hiding you for 15 years? We'd both end up in jail, sweetheart. And Marcus Pierce would lawyer his way out of anything we tried to prove. So he just gets away with it? For now. That's not good enough. Amara, I know you're angry. I'm angry too. But men like him are untouchable. They have money, power, connections. We have nothing. We have the truth. The truth doesn't matter if nobody listens." But Amara was done listening to reason, done being invisible, done letting the man who tried to murder her live a perfect life. She was going to make him see her, even if it destroyed her in the process. Amara spent the next 3 years building herself into someone Marcus Pierce couldn't ignore. She graduated high school at 16, top of the class, got a full scholarship to a state university, studied business, finance, computer science, anything that would teach her how Marcus's world worked. She worked part-time jobs, saved every penny, lived on nothing, sent money home to help Jacob and Linda, sent money to Maya, who was now in college too, studying social work. Her health got worse. The stress, the lack of sleep, the constant pushing. Her heart protested, threw tantrums, sent her to the ER more times than she could count. "You need to slow down," doctors warned. "Your condition is degenerating. If you don't, I'll be fine." She was never fine, but she was determined. By the time she graduated at 19, she'd learned everything she needed to know: how corporations worked, how money moved, how powerful men protected themselves, and how to infiltrate systems from the inside. She applied to dozens of jobs at Pierce Technologies and its subsidiaries, got rejected from all of them. No connections, no prestigious degree, no experience that mattered. So she changed her approach. She created a new identity. Not legally, she didn't have the resources for that, but online, through carefully crafted profiles and references from fake companies. She became Maya Rivers, not Amara. That name would trigger alerts if Marcus was monitoring it. But Maya was safe. Maya was common. Maya was invisible.
She applied to temp agencies that supplied staff for corporate events, finally got hired by one of them, worked weddings, conferences, parties, anything that paid, and waited for the Pierce Foundation's annual gala, the biggest charity event of the year, the one Marcus never missed. When the temp agency asked for volunteers to work the event, Amara raised her hand. "I'll do it." The night before the gala, she stood in her tiny apartment, staring at the server's uniform laid out on her bed. White shirt, black pants, name tag, Maya Rivers. Her real name, but not really, a borrowed identity from the sister who'd given her everything. She touched the name tag, thought about Jacob, who'd worked himself to exhaustion for her, Linda, who'd loved her like she was born from her body, Maya, who'd shared everything without resentment.
Thought about Marcus Pierce, who'd thrown her away like trash. Tomorrow she would see him face to face for the first time since he left her to die. Tomorrow she would start dismantling the empire he built on her grave. Tomorrow the ghost of Amara Pierce would rise, and Marcus Pierce would learn that some sins don't stay buried. The Meridian Grand Hotel was exactly as pretentious as Amara expected. Gold leaf on everything, waiters in white gloves, a string quartet playing Vivaldi like this was a period drama. She moved through the crowd with a tray of champagne, head down, ears open. Rich people talked freely around servers, like they were furniture, invisible. "Did you hear Pierce is announcing a new initiative tonight? Another tax write-off disguised as charity. Still, $50 million to children's hospitals is impressive." Amara's grip tightened on the tray. $50 million. While she'd grown up counting pennies, rationing medication, wondering if each emergency room visit would be the one that bankrupted her family completely. She spotted him across the room. Marcus Pierce, holding court near the stage, surrounded by admirers. He looked older in person, more lines around his eyes, gray in his hair. But that practiced smile was the same, the one that said, "I'm a good man, I care, I help." Liar. She forced herself to breathe, in through the nose, out through the mouth, steady. Her heart couldn't betray her now. A woman bumped into her. "Oh, sorry, could I get one of those?" Amara handed her a champagne flute. The woman took it without making eye contact, already turning away. Good. The more invisible she was, the better. She circled the room, refilling glasses, listening to conversations, mapping the space. Emergency exits here, bathrooms there, security stationed at every door, but they weren't paying attention to staff. By 9 o'clock, Marcus took the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming tonight." His voice carried across the room, deep, authoritative, warm, the voice of a man you could trust. Amara wanted to vomit. 15 years ago, I lost the most precious thing in my life, my daughter, Amara. Gasps from the crowd. Some people who knew the story, others hearing it for the first time. She was 4 years old, vibrant, brilliant, full of life, and in one terrible moment, she was gone. He paused, let the emotions settle on his face. Grief, carefully measured. I could have let that tragedy destroy me. Instead, I chose to honor her memory, to make sure no other family endures what I endured. Lies. Tonight, I'm proud to announce that the Amara Pierce Foundation will donate an additional $50 million to pediatric cardiac care. Because no child should die from a treatable condition. No parent should have to choose between their child's life and financial ruin. The crowd erupted in applause. Marcus smiled humbly, accepted the praise. Amara stood at the back of the room, tray forgotten in her hands, heart hammering against her ribs in that dangerous, irregular rhythm. He was using her
using her name, her story, her death to make himself look good, to build his reputation, to erase what he'd done. And everyone believed him. The rage that rose in her chest was hot, violent, but she swallowed it. Not yet. Not here. She had a plan. She just needed to stick to it. As the crowd dispersed for dinner, Amara moved toward the stage. Marcus was still there, talking to reporters, soaking up the attention. She positioned herself near the refreshment table, waiting. Finally, he stepped away from the crowd, heading toward the back hallway, probably to his private room to decompress before the next round of schmoozing.
Amara followed. The hallway was empty, dim, quiet. Marcus's shoes clicked on the marble floor. He pulled out his phone, started typing something. She stepped into the light behind him. "Mr. Pierce?" He turned, slightly annoyed. "Yes?" Their eyes met. For a moment, nothing. He didn't recognize her. Why would he? She was just staff, just a server, just invisible. "Can I get you anything? Water? Coffee?" "No, thank you." He turned to walk away. "Mr. Pierce," she said again, louder this time. "I wanted to tell you how much your speech moved me." He stopped, turned back. The annoyance faded into practiced charm. "Thank you. That's very kind. Especially the part about your daughter, Amara." Something flickered in his eyes, just for a second. Then it was gone. "Yes, she was everything to me." "What happened to her, if you don't mind me asking?" His smile tightened. "It was an accident, a tragedy." "But what kind of accident?" Now the annoyance was back. "Why are you asking?" "Just curious. It's such a sad story." "It is." His voice was clipped now. "If you'll excuse me." "Where did she die?" He froze. "I'm sorry," Amara said, channeling innocence. "I don't mean to pry. I just read that it was a hiking accident in the mountains. Must have been terrible to lose her that way." Marcus's jaw clenched. It was. "Were you with her when it happened?" "That's enough." His voice was sharp now. "I don't discuss my daughter with strangers." "Of course, I understand." Amara stepped back. "It must be hard to talk about, especially when you left her there to die." The hallway went silent. Marcus's face drained of color. "What did you just say?" "I said it must be hard to live with yourself after what you did. I don't know what you think you know, but I know everything." Amara's voice was steady, cold. "I know you drove your sick daughter into the Adirondack Mountains on February 3rd, 15 years ago. I know you left her in the snow to freeze to death. I know you filed a death certificate and collected $2 million in life insurance." Marcus took a step back, hand reaching for something in his pocket, probably a phone or a panic button. "I know you built your entire empire on her death, used her name for your foundation, made yourself look like a hero while she grew up poor and sick and struggling. Who are you?" His voice was barely a whisper. Amara reached up, removed her name tag, threw it on the floor. "My name isn't Maya Rivers," she said. "It's Amara Pierce, and I'm your daughter." Marcus stared at her. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. "That's impossible. You're dead." "No." Amara stepped closer. "You tried to kill me, but someone saved me, took me to a hospital, gave me a new name, raised me, and I survived." "No," he was shaking his head. "No, this is some kind of con, some—" "You want proof?" Amara pulled up her sleeve, showed him the scar on her inner wrist. Small, faded, but there.
I fell on a rock when you left me, cut myself. 8 stitches. Marcus stared at the scar. His face was white as paper. I also have a birthmark, Amara continued, on my left shoulder blade, shaped like a crescent moon. You used to say it looked like someone took a bite out of the moon and stuck it on me. His knees buckled. He grabbed the wall for support. How is this possible? A man named Jacob Rivers found me. He lied to the hospital, said I was his daughter, kept me hidden for 15 years because he knew if you found out I survived, you'd finish the job. I didn't mean, Marcus's voice cracked. I was broke. The medical bills were destroying me. Your condition needed a transplant that cost millions. Millions I didn't have. And the insurance policy was worth $2 million if I died. I thought it would be quick, painless. You'd just fall asleep in the cold. You wouldn't suffer. Amara's vision blurred, not from tears, from rage so pure it was blinding. You thought leaving a 4-year-old to freeze to death was merciful? I was desperate. I didn't know what else to do. You could have tried. You could have sold everything. You could have asked for help. You could have done anything except abandon your sick daughter in the middle of nowhere. I'm sorry. He was crying now. God, I'm so sorry. I've lived with the guilt every single day. No, you haven't. Amara's voice was ice. You've lived in a mansion. You've built a company worth billions. You've been praised as a humanitarian. You've used my death to make yourself look good. You haven't suffered at all. Please, Amara reached for her. Please let me explain. Let me make this right. She stepped back. You can't make this right, but you can tell the truth. What? Tomorrow morning, you're going to hold a press conference. You're going to tell everyone what you did, how you tried to kill me, how you faked my death, how you built your empire on insurance fraud and attempted murder. I can't do that. It'll destroy me. Good. Please, Amara, I'll give you money, whatever you need. I'll set up a trust fund. I don't want your money. I want justice. If I confess, I'll go to prison. You should have gone to prison 15 years ago. Please, he was on his knees now, literally begging. You're my daughter. I know I made a terrible mistake, but I'm still your father. No. Amara looked down at him without an ounce of pity. Jacob Rivers is my father, the man who saved me, the man who worked 3 jobs to pay for my medication, the man who sacrificed everything to keep me alive. You're just the man who tried to kill me. She turned to walk away. Wait, Marcus scrambled to his feet. You can't do this. You have no proof. It's your word against mine. And who's going to believe He stopped himself, but Amara knew what he was about to say. A nobody? A poor girl with no connections? Someone who doesn't matter? His silence was answer enough. You're right. Nobody would believe me. If I went to the police right now, you'd have a team of lawyers destroying my credibility before I finished my statement. Relief flooded his face.
But I'm not going to the police. The relief vanished. Tomorrow morning, Amara continued, every news outlet in the country is going to receive a package. In that package will be my hospital records from 15 years ago, DNA evidence proving I'm your daughter, a recording of this conversation. She held up her phone, red light blinking, and testimony from Jacob Rivers about finding me in the woods. Marcus's face went from white to gray. You can try to fight it. But by the time your lawyers finish drafting motions, the court of public opinion will have already convicted you. Your company's stock will crash. Your foundation will be investigated. Every charity you've touched will distance themselves. Your empire will crumble. You'll destroy thousands of jobs, hurt innocent people. Like you hurt me? That was different. How? No answer. Amara walked away. Made it 3 steps before Marcus called out one last time. What do you want from me? She turned back. I want you to feel what I felt. Cold, abandoned, forgotten.
I want you to know what it's like to be left with nothing. And I want everyone who ever praised you to see who you really are. And then what? After you destroy me, will that be enough? Amara thought about that. About 15 years of pain, 15 years of struggling, 15 years of wondering why she wasn't worth saving. I don't know, she said honestly, but I guess we'll find out. She walked away. This time, Marcus Pierce didn't call after her. He just stood in that empty hallway, finally understanding that his dead daughter had become his reckoning. The news broke at 6 a.m. Billionaire's dead daughter found alive, shocking allegations of fraud and attempted murder. Every major outlet picked it up within the hour. The story was too explosive to ignore. A beloved philanthropist, a dead daughter who wasn't dead, insurance fraud, abandonment, attempted murder. Social media erupted. Pierce Technologies' stock dropped 20% in the first hour of trading. By noon, it had lost 40% of its value. The board of directors called an emergency meeting, demanded Marcus's resignation. When he refused, they voted him out, 10-0. The Amara Pierce Foundation issued a statement distancing itself from its founder. Donors pulled funding, hospitals returned money. Everything Marcus had built began to crumble. Amara watched it happen from Jacob's apartment. She'd gone home after the gala, couldn't be alone, needed her family. "How do you feel?" Maya asked, sitting next to her on the couch. "I don't know." "That's fair." On TV, a legal analyst was discussing the case. If these allegations are true, Marcus Pierce is looking at insurance fraud, filing a false death certificate, possibly even attempted murder, though that will be harder to prove after 15 years. "They're calling it the scandal of the decade," Jacob said from the kitchen. He looked worried. "You sure you're ready for this?" "No, but I couldn't keep hiding." "The media is going to come after you. They'll dig into everything, your life, your medical records, your—" "I know," Amara cut him off gently. "I'm ready." She wasn't ready, not really, but what choice did she have? By afternoon, reporters were camped outside Jacob's building. Amara couldn't leave without being swarmed by cameras and microphones. "Amara, how does it feel to be alive?"
Did you know Marcus Pierce tried to kill you? What do you want from him? She said nothing, just pushed through them to a waiting car. Jacob's lawyer had arranged for her to give one interview, just one, to tell her story on her own terms. The interview was with Sarah Chen, a journalist known for handling sensitive stories with care. They met in a neutral location, a small office, just Amara, Sarah, and a camera. "Thank you for agreeing to speak with me," Sarah said. Amara nodded. "Let's start at the beginning. What's your earliest memory?" Amara took a breath. Then she told the story. All of it. The cold, the abandonment, Jacob finding her, growing up poor, learning the truth. Everything. Sarah listened without interrupting. When Amara finished, there were tears in the journalist's eyes. "What do you want people to know?" Sarah asked. "That Marcus Pierce isn't a hero. He's a man who chose money over his daughter's life, and every charity he started, every donation he made, was built on that lie." "Do you want him to go to prison?" "I want him to face consequences. Real consequences, not just bad press and a resignation. I want him to understand that what he did was evil." "Have you spoken to him since the gala?" "No." "Would you?" Amara thought about that. If he was willing to tell the truth, to stop lying, then maybe. The interview aired that night. Within an hour, it had 10 million views. By morning, 50 million. The public response was overwhelming. Support for Amara, rage at Marcus, demands for justice. The district attorney announced an investigation. The FBI got involved, looking into the insurance fraud. Marcus's lawyers filed motions, tried to suppress evidence, argued statute of limitations. But the public court of opinion had already decided. Marcus Pierce
was guilty. 3 weeks later, Marcus requested a meeting. His lawyers reached out to Amara's lawyer. Marcus wanted to talk, just the two of them. No lawyers, no press, no recording devices. "It's probably a trap," Jacob warned. "Let her go," Maya said. "She needs closure." Amara agreed to meet, but she set the location. The clearing in the Adirondack Mountains where it all began. Marcus arrived by helicopter, stepped out in jeans and a worn jacket, looking nothing like the polished billionaire from the gala. His face was gaunt, his eyes were hollow. He saw Amara standing in the clearing, the exact spot where he'd left her 15 years ago. "Thank you for coming," he said quietly. "I didn't do it for you." They stood in silence. The wind moved through the trees, the same sound from that day, cold, unforgiving. "I remember this place. I've tried to forget it, but I can't. Every time I close my eyes, I see you here, small, scared, calling for me. I was calling for a father who didn't exist. I know," his voice broke. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I know what I did was unforgivable, but I need you to understand."
Understand what? That you were desperate? That you thought killing me was the only option? I've heard your excuses. They're not excuses. They're reasons. Terrible reasons, but reasons. Tell me why. Amara's voice was hard. Why was $2 million worth more than my life? Marcus closed his eyes. Your mother died 6 months before. Brain aneurysm, out of nowhere. She was gone before the ambulance arrived. I was destroyed. And then you got sick. Your heart. The doctor said you needed a transplant. Millions of dollars. Money I didn't have. So you decided to kill me. I decided I couldn't watch you suffer. Couldn't watch you slowly fade away in a hospital bed, connected to machines, in pain. The insurance policy, it was supposed to be for college, for your future. But after your mother died, after the medical bills started piling up, I thought... He trailed off. You thought you could cash in. Amara finished. I thought I could end your suffering and survive financially. 2 problems, 1 solution. It was cold, it was evil, and I've spent every day since trying to make up for it. By using my name to build a foundation, by pretending to care about sick children while your own daughter grew up barely surviving. I do care. The foundation has helped thousands of families. Blood money doesn't become clean just because you donate it. Marcus flinched. You're right, but those families didn't do anything wrong. Those children didn't do anything wrong. They needed help, and I gave it to them. You should have given it to me. I know. Silence. Long, heavy silence. What do you want from me? Marcus asked finally. What will make this right? Nothing. There's nothing you can do. Then why did you agree to meet me? Amara looked at him, really looked at him, saw a broken man, a guilty man, a man who'd destroyed his own life by trying to destroy hers. I wanted to see if you'd tell the truth, without lawyers, without an audience, just you and me. And you're still making excuses, still trying to justify what you did. You say you're sorry, but you're really just sorry you got caught. That's not true, isn't it? If I hadn't found you, if I hadn't exposed you, would you ever have confessed? Would you ever have tried to find me? Marcus looked away. That was answer enough. I thought so, Amara said. You don't want forgiveness. You want absolution. You want me to say it's okay, that I understand, that we can move forward. But I won't, because it's not okay. I'll never be okay. Then what do you want from me? The truth, publicly, a full confession, no legal loopholes, no plea deals. You go to prison for what you did. I'll die in prison. I'm 52 years old.
A conviction means life. You should have thought of that before you left me to die. Please, Marcus's voice cracked. I know I don't deserve mercy, but I'm begging you. Let me spend the rest of my life making amends. Let me work with the foundation, help families, do something good with the time I have left.
You had 15 years to make amends. You spent them building an empire on a lie. I was scared. I was ashamed. I didn't know how to... Stop. Amara held up her hand. I'm done listening to excuses. You're going to confess. You're going to face justice. And you're going to spend the rest of your life knowing that your daughters survived you. She turned to walk away. Amara, wait. She stopped, but didn't turn around. I'm glad you survived, Marcus said quietly. I know that doesn't mean anything coming from me, but it's true. I'm glad you found people who loved you. I'm glad you became the woman you are. And I'm glad you're strong enough to make me face what I did. Amara said nothing, just walked away. Behind her, Marcus Pierce fell to his knees in the snow, in the exact spot where he'd abandoned his daughter. And for the first time in 15 years, he felt the cold. Marcus Pierce's trial became the most watched legal proceeding in decades. The charges? Insurance fraud, filing a false death certificate, child endangerment, attempted murder. The prosecution had everything. DNA evidence proving Amara was his daughter, hospital records from the day Jacob found her, expert testimony about how close she'd come to death, Jacob's testimony about finding her abandoned, the recording from the gala, Marcus's own confession in the mountains, which Amara had recorded despite saying she wouldn't. You lied to him, Jacob said when she revealed the recording. He lied to me for 15 years. I think we're even. The defense tried everything. Temporary insanity, extreme emotional distress from his wife's death, medical evidence that Amara's condition was terminal anyway. Mr. Pierce believed his daughter had only months to live, his lawyer argued. He made a terrible decision in a moment of unimaginable grief. The prosecution destroyed that argument. Amara Pierce is alive today. She's 20 years old. She's thriving despite her condition. All the doctors agree that with proper medication and care, she can live a long life. Marcus Pierce didn't try to end her suffering. He tried to collect insurance money. This was murder for profit. Amara testified on the third day, walked into the courtroom in a simple dress, no makeup, looking younger than her 20 years. The jury couldn't stop staring at her. She told her story calmly, clearly. The cold, the fear, growing up not knowing who she was, finding out the truth, everything. Do you remember your father leaving you? The prosecutor asked. Pieces, mostly sounds and feelings. I remember being cold. I remember calling for him. I remember watching him drive away. What did you think was happening?
I thought he'd come back. I thought he was getting help. I didn't understand that he was leaving me there to die. Several jurors were crying. On cross-examination, the defense tried to rattle her. Isn't it possible you've constructed false memories, that the trauma has distorted what really happened? My memories might be fragmented, Amara said, but DNA doesn't lie. Hospital records don't lie, and a recorded confession doesn't lie. The defense had no response. Marcus took the stand on the 5th day. He looked smaller somehow, diminished. Mr. Pierce, did you drive your daughter into the mountains on February 3rd, 15 years ago? Yes. Did you leave her there? Yes. Did you intend for her to die? Pause. Long pause. Yes. Gasps from the gallery. Why? Because I couldn't afford her medical care, because the insurance money would solve my problems, because I was weak and selfish and scared. Do you regret it?
every day of my life. But you never tried to find her, even when you suspected she might have survived. No. Why not? Another pause. Because I was a coward. The prosecution rested. The defense rested. Closing arguments lasted 2 days. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing came a month later. The judge was a woman in her 60s, known for being tough but fair. Mr. Pierce, you stand convicted of crimes that shock the conscience. You attempted to murder your own daughter for financial gain. You defrauded an insurance company. You filed false documents. And you spent 15 years living a lie while your daughter suffered. Amara's stomach dropped. Was the judge going to be lenient? But here's what I keep coming back to, the judge continued. You had the resources to help your daughter. You had the intelligence to find solutions. You had every advantage, and you chose attempted murder. Not once did you exhaust every option. Not once did you ask for help. You simply decided your daughter was disposable. The judge's voice hardened. The court sentences you to 25 years in prison for attempted murder, 10 years for insurance fraud, 5 years for filing false documents, sentences to run consecutively, total of 40 years. The courtroom erupted. Marcus closed his eyes. At 52, a 40-year sentence was essentially life. One more thing, the judge said, silencing the crowd. You will pay restitution to Amara Pierce in the amount of $2 million, the insurance money you collected. You will also pay for all her medical expenses going forward, and you will issue a public apology taking full responsibility for your actions. The gavel came down. Marcus Pierce was led away in handcuffs. He looked at Amara one last time as they took him out. She stared back, face blank. No tears, no satisfaction, just empty. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Amara, how do you feel about the verdict? Do you think justice was served?
Will you forgive your father? She stopped, turned to face the cameras. Marcus Pierce got what he deserved. I hope other parents who think their children are disposable are watching. I hope they understand that your child's life is worth more than any amount of money. And I hope that somewhere another little girl who's suffering knows that she deserves to be saved. She walked away. That night, she sat with her family, Jacob, Linda, and Maya, in their small apartment. The apartment she'd grown up in, the apartment where she'd learned what real love looked like. It's over, Linda said, pulling her close. Yeah, Amara whispered. It's over. But it didn't feel over. It felt like the beginning of something else, something she couldn't name yet. The $2 million in restitution arrived 6 months later. Amara stared at the bank statement, at the number that had once represented her worth to Marcus Pierce. She donated it all, not to one cause, to hundreds, families struggling with medical debt, children who needed heart surgery, people living paycheck to paycheck who couldn't afford medication. You could have kept some of it, Maya said. You deserve it. I don't want his money. I never did. She kept working, finished her degree, got a job at a nonprofit helping families navigate medical bills and insurance denials. It didn't pay much, but it mattered. Her health remained fragile. Some days were good, others sent her to the hospital. She learned to live with it, to accept that her body would always be a challenge. She started speaking at events, sharing her story, not for attention, but to help others who'd been abandoned, abused, forgotten. You don't have to be defined by what happened to you, she told audiences. You can survive it. You can become something more. People listened. Her speeches went viral. She got interview requests from major outlets, book deal offers. A documentary crew wanted to follow her life. She said no to most of it, but she said yes to writing a book, her story, in her own words. It took 2 years. Every word was painful, dragging up memories she'd rather forget. But when it was finished, she felt lighter. The book became a bestseller, not because of the scandal, but because of the message. Survival isn't about revenge, it's about refusing to let the people who hurt you define who you become. 3 years after the trial, Amara received a letter from prison. Marcus Pierce. She almost threw it away, but curiosity made her open it. Dear Amara, I don't expect you to read this. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I'm proud of you. I've followed your work from in here, the families you've helped, the lives you've changed, the woman you've become. You're everything I should have been, everything I failed to be. I destroyed your childhood. I can't undo that. But watching you transform that pain into something meaningful, it gives me hope that maybe some good can come from even the worst evil. I'll die in here. I accept that. But I'll die knowing that my daughter survived me, that she's strong, that she's making the world better. I love you. I know I have no right to say that, but I do. Your father, though I know I don't deserve the title. Marcus. Amara read the letter 3 times. Then she wrote back. Marcus, you're right. You don't deserve the title of father. Jacob Rivers is my father. He earned that title by showing up, by sacrificing, by choosing me every single day. You're the man who tried to kill me. That's all you'll ever be. But I hope your time in prison has taught you something. I hope you understand now that children aren't investments. They're not assets to be discarded when they become inconvenient. I don't forgive you. I probably never will. But I'm not angry anymore. Anger was exhausting. It was keeping me trapped in the past. So I'm letting it go. Not for you, for me. I'm going to live a full life. I'm going to help people. I'm going to be happy. And you're going to spend the rest of your life knowing that the daughter you tried to erase became someone who mattered. Amara Pierce Rowan. She mailed the letter, never heard back, didn't need to.
The Rowan Foundation was small but mighty, operated out of a 2-room office in Brooklyn, run by Amara and a team of 5 volunteers. They helped families navigate medical debt, connected sick children with resources, provided grants to cover medication costs. It wasn't glamorous. It was hard work, late nights, frustrating calls with insurance companies, heartbreaking moments when they couldn't help everyone. But it mattered. Maya worked with them part-time, balancing it with her social work career. Jacob and Linda volunteered on weekends, answering phones, processing applications. Amara's health had stabilized somewhat. New medication, better management, regular checkups. She still had bad days, still ended up in the ER occasionally, but she was alive, thriving even. She'd started dating, nothing serious yet, but she was learning to trust again, to let people in. You seem happy, Jacob said one day, watching her work. I am. Good. You deserve it. She looked at him, at this man who'd saved her twice, once from the cold, once from anger. Thank you, she said, for everything. You don't need to thank me. I know, but I want to. That evening, she got a call from the prison. Marcus Pierce had died. Heart attack. Quick, the warden said. He didn't suffer. Amara hung up, stared at the wall. She didn't cry, didn't feel grief exactly. Just closure. The man who tried to kill her was gone, and she was still here. You okay? Maya asked, coming into the room. Yeah, he's dead. How do you feel? Amara thought about it. Free. She attended the funeral. Small, private, just his lawyers and a few former colleagues. No one from his family. He didn't have family anymore. Amara stood at the grave, looked down at the casket. "I survived you," she said quietly. "That's all I needed." She walked away without looking back. 10 years after the trial, Amara stood on a stage in front of 500 people. The annual Rowan Foundation Gala, not as fancy as Marcus Pierce's events had been, but meaningful, filled with families they'd helped, children they'd saved, people who understood what it meant to fight for survival. When I was 4 years old, someone decided I wasn't worth saving. He looked at me, his daughter, and saw a problem that needed solving, so he left me to die. The room was silent. For years, I was angry about that. I wanted revenge. I wanted him to suffer the way I suffered. And when he went to prison, I thought I'd feel satisfied. But I just felt empty. She paused. It took me a long time to understand that my life isn't about what he did to me. It's about what I chose to do after. I chose to survive. I chose to help others. I chose to build something meaningful from the pain. The man who tried to kill me is dead now, but I'm still here, and so are all of you. Every family in this room has faced impossible choices. Medical bills you couldn't pay, conditions you couldn't afford to treat, desperation that felt crushing. But you survived. You fought. You found a way. That's what this foundation is about. Not charity, not pity, just helping people who refuse to give up. She smiled, real and warm. So thank you for being here. Thank you for fighting. Thank you for surviving. The room erupted in applause. Afterwards, families came up to thank her. A mother whose son had just gotten a heart transplant. A father who'd been able to afford his daughter's medication because of the foundation's grant. A teenager who was alive because someone cared enough to help. Amara hugged them all. Later, standing outside under the stars, Jacob joined her. "Hell of a speech," he said. "Thanks."
You really okay with him being gone? Yeah, I am. She meant it. He doesn't get to haunt me anymore. Good. They stood in comfortable silence. You know what I realized? Amara said. What? I spent years wanting him to see me, to acknowledge me, to understand what he'd done. But I don't need that anymore. I see myself, and that's enough. Jacob pulled her into a hug. That's my girl, he whispered. Not his biological daughter, but his daughter in every way that mattered. The girl he'd found in the snow. The woman she'd become despite everything. The survivor who'd turned her pain into purpose. Amara Pierce Rowan had been left to die in the frozen mountains, but she'd done something far more powerful than survive. She'd lived, fully, fiercely, on her own terms. And no one, not Marcus Pierce, not her broken heart, not the years of struggle, could take that away from her. She was free. Finally, completely, beautifully free. That night, Amara wrote one final entry in the journal she'd kept since the trial. To the little girl I was, you deserved better, but you also deserved to know that you were strong enough to survive, that the cold didn't kill you, that the abandonment didn't break you, that you would grow up to help people the way you needed to be helped. To Marcus Pierce, you failed. That's all there is to say. You tried to erase me, and instead you gave me a reason to exist louder than you ever did. To Jacob, Linda, and Maya, you saved me in every way a person can be saved, not just from death, but from becoming someone bitter and broken. You showed me what family really means. And to anyone reading this who's been abandoned, forgotten, or told they don't matter, you do. You matter more than you know. And your story doesn't end with the people who hurt you. It ends with you choosing to live anyway. She closed the journal, put it on the shelf next to her purple coat from that day in the mountains, the one she'd kept all these years as a reminder, not of the cold, but of the warmth that came after.